The morning sun gleamed off the United Nations building in New York as another Security Council meeting began. It was supposed to be a routine discussion about global security, but fate had other plans. Captain James Walker stood at his post, guarding the main entrance to the council chamber, his polished boots reflecting the fluorescent lights above. No one expected the calm morning to turn into humanity's most important day. The first sign was a low hum that filled the air. Then came the lights, bright, swirling patterns that danced across the ceiling. Before anyone could sound an alarm, they appeared. 3 tall figures, their skin a pale blue, wearing what looked like flowing metallic robes that shifted colors with each movement. The room erupted into chaos. Security teams rushed forward, weapons drawn. Captain Walker's hand moved to his sidearm, but something made him pause. The aliens, because that's what they clearly were, made no threatening moves. Instead, they raised their hands in what seemed to be a universal gesture of peace. Members of Earth's United Nations, the tallest one spoke in perfect English, its voice carrying a slight metallic echo. "We are representatives of the Galactic Council. We come in peace." Walker watched as the world's leaders, who moments ago had been arguing about trade sanctions, sat in stunned silence. The UN Secretary-General was the first to recover. "Welcome to Earth," he said, his voice steady despite the extraordinary situation. "I believe this calls for a brief recess to properly greet our unexpected guests." The aliens introduced themselves as members of the Galactic Council's First Contact Division. Their leader, who called himself Ambassador Light, explained that they had been watching Earth for decades, waiting for the right moment to make contact. As the initial shock wore off, questions began flying. Politicians and diplomats from every nation wanted answers. How did they get here? What did they want? Why now? Captain Walker noticed something interesting as he observed from his post. Every time someone mentioned Earth's military capabilities or defense systems, the aliens exchanged quick glances. He'd seen that look before. It was the same look experienced soldiers gave when dealing with new recruits who thought they knew everything. The meeting continued for hours. The aliens explained that Earth was being invited to join the Galactic Council, a coalition of over 300 spacefaring species. They spoke of advanced technology, interstellar travel, and the benefits of joining their alliance. Then came the security assessment. "Of course," Ambassador Light said, "we'll need to evaluate your military capabilities. Standard procedure for all new potential members." One of the other aliens pulled out a device that looked like a crystal tablet. It glowed as he waved it around the room. "Interesting," he muttered. "They still use projectile weapons, physical ammunition." Walker saw them trying to hide their smiles. His jaw tightened. 20 years in the Marines had taught him that underestimating any weapon, or any opponent, was a dangerous mistake. The third alien, who hadn't spoken yet, turned to Ambassador Light. "Their most advanced weapons appear to be nuclear devices, and these, primitive firearms. No energy weapons, no shield technology. Not even basic anti-gravity. We'll help you advance beyond these simple tools," Ambassador Light said kindly, but his tone carried a hint of condescension. "Your species has potential, but you have much to learn." As the day drew to a close and plans were made for formal diplomatic relations, Captain Walker couldn't shake the feeling that these aliens, for all their advanced technology, were missing something important. He'd been in enough firefights to know that sometimes the simplest weapons were the most effective. Little did the Galactic Council know. They would soon learn this lesson the hard way. The sun set on humanity's first day as part of a larger galactic community. But as Captain Walker filed his report that evening, he wondered if their new alien friends might be the ones who needed to do some learning. 1 week after first contact, the Galactic Council arranged a formal demonstration of military capabilities. They chose a remote military base in Nevada for the event, far from civilian eyes. The morning sun beat down on the desert landscape as representatives from Earth's major military powers gathered to witness alien technology in action. Captain Walker stood among the observers, his uniform crisp despite the heat. Next to him, General Thompson of the Joint Chiefs fidgeted with his collar. The aliens had promised something spectacular. Ambassador Light appeared with his team, accompanied by Admiral Rex, the Council's military advisor. The Admiral's gray skin had a metallic sheen, and his uniform seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Today, Ambassador Light announced, we will demonstrate why the Galactic Council is the foremost military power in 3 spiral arms of the galaxy. Admiral Rex stepped forward, holding what looked like a silver pen. With a fluid motion, he pointed it at a target 2 miles away. There was no sound, no visible beam, but the target, a decommissioned tank, simply disappeared. In its place was a perfectly smooth crater in the desert floor. The human observers broke into murmurs of amazement. General Thompson let out a low whistle. That, Admiral Rex said with obvious pride, is our basic infantry weapon. Would you like to see what our heavy artillery can do? The demonstrations continued for an hour. Force fields that could stop anything. Weapons that could disintegrate mountains. Devices that could scramble electronic systems across an entire continent. Then came humanity's turn. We would be honored, Admiral Rex said, his tone suggesting otherwise, to see Earth's military capabilities. General Thompson nodded to Walker. Captain, show them what the Marines can do. Walker stepped forward with his standard-issue M4 rifle. He could see the aliens trying not to smile as he set up the firing range. Several targets had been placed at varying distances. This is a basic infantry weapon, Walker explained, keeping his voice professional. It fires 5.56 millimeters rounds at approximately 3,000 feet per second. Admiral Rex leaned over to Ambassador Light. Chemical propellant, he whispered loudly enough for others to hear. How quaint. Walker ignored them. He took aim and fired 3 quick shots. Each one hit center mass on different targets. The sound echoed across the desert. Impressive accuracy, Ambassador Light said kindly, but rather loud and inefficient, don't you think? And the projectiles are so easy to stop with even basic shield technology. Next came demonstrations of tanks, artillery, and even a fighter jet display. With each showing, the aliens' expressions grew more amused. They watched politely, but their condescension was clear. During a break, Walker overheard Admiral Rex speaking to his staff. Their weapons still rely on explosions and metal projectiles. It's like watching cave dwellers discover fire. The final demonstration was of a new prototype railgun. The massive weapon charged up with a high-pitched whine, then launched its projectile at hypersonic speed. The target, a thick steel plate, was obliterated. This, finally, seemed to catch the aliens' attention, but not in the way the humans hoped. Interesting attempt at energy weapons, Admiral Rex said, but still relying on physical projectiles. You'll learn better ways once you join the Council. As the day wound down, Ambassador Light addressed the gathered humans. We appreciate this demonstration. Rest assured, once you join the Galactic Council, we'll help you develop proper weapons. These projectile launchers can be placed in museums where they belong. Walker watched the aliens return to their ship, their faces showing a mixture of amusement and pity. Next to him, General Thompson shook his head. They think we're primitives, the general said quietly. Yes, sir, Walker replied, his hand resting on his rifle. But sometimes the old ways work best. Neither of them knew how prophetic those words would prove to be. 2 months after the weapons demonstration, Captain Walker sat in a newly built alien technology briefing room at the Pentagon. The room's holographic displays showed real-time updates from across the galaxy. Everything had been quiet until the emergency alert flashed across every screen. The doors burst open. Ambassador Light rushed in, his usually perfect composure shattered. Behind him came Admiral Rex, his metallic skin now a dull gray rather than its usual shine. The Ravagers have returned, Ambassador Light announced, his voice trembling. They've attacked the Centauri colony. General Thompson stood up from his chair. The Ravagers. You've never mentioned them before. Because we thought we had defeated them years ago, Admiral Rex replied. His hands clenched into fists. They're a species we fought many times. Brutal, efficient, and now they're back with new technology. The holographic displays shifted to show the battle. Walker leaned forward, studying the footage. Massive ships with jagged edges fired upon Council vessels. But something was wrong with the battle. Your weapons, Walker said quietly. They're not working. Admiral Rex nodded grimly. They've developed some new kind of shield technology. Our energy weapons can't penetrate it. 3 colonies have fallen in the past week. The room fell silent as they watched another Council ship explode. The Ravager vessels seemed untouchable, their shields flickering with a green glow as they absorbed every energy blast fired at them. How close are they to Earth? General Thompson asked. Ambassador Light manipulated the holographic display. A map of the galaxy appeared, showing the Ravagers' advance. At their current pace, they'll reach your solar system in 6 months. Walker studied the combat footage more closely. Something about the Ravager shields caught his attention. Sir, he said to General Thompson, request permission to speak freely. Go ahead, Captain. They're shields. They're designed to stop energy weapons, right? Have you tried using physical projectiles? Admiral Rex turned to Walker with a look of tired patience. Captain, please. This is not the time to discuss primitive weapons. The Ravager's shield technology is far beyond anything your projectile weapons could handle. But General Thompson was nodding slowly. No, wait. The captain might have a point. You said these shields are specifically designed to stop energy weapons. What about kinetic impacts? That's not how advanced warfare works, Admiral Rex started to say, but Ambassador Light raised a hand to stop him. At this point, the ambassador said, we should consider all options. Our latest battle resulted in the loss of 12 ships. We didn't destroy a single Ravager vessel. Walker stepped up to the holographic display. Let us help. A joint operation. Your ships can get us close, and we can test if our primitive weapons might work against their shields. Admiral Rex laughed, but it was a hollow sound. You want to fight an advanced alien species with bullets. Sometimes the old ways work best. Walker quoted his own words from the demonstration. And right now, your new ways aren't working at all. The room fell silent again. The holographic displays continued to show the destruction of another Council colony. Ambassador Light and Admiral Rex exchanged long looks. The Council will never approve sending human forces, Admiral Rex said finally. Your species isn't even a full member yet. Then don't tell them, General Thompson suggested. Call it a civilian observation mission. We send a small team, test our weapons. If they don't work, no harm done. If they do work, he left the sentence hanging. Ambassador Light stared at the battle footage for a long moment. Another Council ship exploded in silence. Very well, he said finally. We'll try it your way, but only a small team. And if this fails, it won't, Walker said, his hand instinctively touching his rifle. Trust us. As they began planning the mission, Walker couldn't help but wonder if the galaxy was about to learn why humans had never given up their primitive weapons. The next 3 weeks passed in a blur of activity. Captain Walker stood in the hangar of the Council's orbital station above Earth, watching as his small team loaded their weapons and equipment onto an alien shuttle. Each Marine carried their standard gear, M4 rifles, sidearms, and enough ammunition to start a small war. Your projectile weapons look so strange next to our technology, Admiral Rex said, walking up beside Walker. The Admiral's skin had regained some of its metallic shine, but worry lines still creased his face, like ancient relics in a museum of tomorrow. Walker checked his rifle one more time. Sometimes relics have their uses, sir. The latest reports flashed across the hangar's holographic screens. 3 more Council colonies had fallen to the Ravagers. Their new shields seemed unstoppable, absorbing or deflecting every energy weapon the Council ships fired at them. Ambassador Light rushed into the hangar, his robes flowing behind him. The Council is meeting in emergency session. The Ravagers have changed course. They're heading straight for the Sol system. Earth, Walker asked, his grip tightening on his rifle. They must have detected our technology exchange with your planet. Admiral Rex said, they always target developing worlds first. Easier to conquer. General Thompson arrived with more news. Our deep space sensors show they'll be here in less than 2 weeks. We're out of time. The original plan had been to test human weapons on a small scale, far from Earth. Now they would have to defend their home directly. Walker watched as his team, 20 of the best Marines, continued their preparations with practiced efficiency. I still don't understand how you can rely on such basic weapons, Admiral Rex said, watching the Marines work. No targeting computers, no energy cells, not even basic shield integration. That's exactly why they might work, Walker replied. Your enemies have spent centuries developing defenses against energy weapons. When was the last time they faced something like this? Ambassador Like joined them, his expression grave. The Council is divided. Half want to abandon the Sol system, say it's not worth the losses we'll take defending an unadvanced world. He held up a hand to stop Walker's protest. The other half argue we can't keep running. The Ravagers are getting stronger. We need to stop them here. And what do you think? General Thompson asked. The ambassador was quiet for a moment. I think we've underestimated Earth. Your species lacks our technology, yes, but you have a directness in your approach to problems that we may have forgotten. A warning alarm sounded throughout the station. Everyone turned to the main view screen. A Ravager scout ship had just appeared at the edge of the solar system. They're early, Admiral Rex said, his voice tight with tension. Walker turned to his team. Marines, load up. We move in 5 minutes. As the Marines boarded the shuttle, Admiral Rex stopped Walker with a hand on his shoulder. Captain, I hope we're wrong. About your weapons. About everything. Honestly, sir, so do I. Walker checked his ammunition one last time. But if we're right, the Ravagers are about to learn why humans still carry guns. The shuttle's engines hummed to life. Through the viewport, Walker could see Earth below, beautiful and blue and terrifyingly vulnerable. Somewhere out there, the Ravagers were coming, confident in their advanced shields and energy weapons. They had no idea they were about to face something their shields had never been designed to stop. Good old-fashioned human ingenuity, wrapped in brass and lead. As the shuttle lifted off, Walker smiled grimly. Sometimes the oldest solutions were the best ones, and humanity was about to give the galaxy a lesson in military history they would never forget. The Council shuttle carrying Walker and his Marines dropped out of faster-than-light speed near Jupiter's orbit. Through the view screen, they could see the massive Ravager fleet, 15 ships strong, their dark hulls bristling with weapons. Look at these primitives. A Ravager transmission crackled across all channels. They bring projectile weapons to a space battle. Walker checked his rifle one last time as Admiral Rex's voice came through their comms. Remember the plan. Get close enough to test your weapons, then retreat if they don't work. We can't lose more ships in a futile attack. The Ravager fleet moved closer, their green shields glowing brightly against the darkness of space. Their ships were massive, easily dwarfing the Council vessels. The lead Ravager ship fired a warning shot, a beam of pure energy that lit up space like a new sun. Shields holding, the Council pilot announced. Barely. Their weapons have gotten stronger. Walker positioned his team near the shuttle's airlock. They wore Council-provided spacesuits modified to work with human weapons. 20 Marines, carrying humanity's primitive firearms, about to face the most advanced hostile fleet in this part of the galaxy. This is amusing, the Ravager commander broadcast again. The mighty Council now sends savages to fight their battles. The Council fleet engaged first, their energy weapons flashing brilliantly against the Ravager's shields. As before, they had no effect. The green barriers simply absorbed everything thrown at them. Now, Walker commanded as their shuttle slipped through the chaos of battle. They were aiming for the smallest Ravager ship, hoping for an easy test target. The shuttle's airlock opened to space. Walker led his team out, their magnetic boots locking onto the Ravager ship's hull. Up close, the green shield was like a transparent wall, humming with power. "Watch this, primitives," the Ravager commander taunted. The shield intensity doubled, creating a barrier that even Council capital ships couldn't penetrate. Walker raised his rifle. "Marines, on my mark. Fire." 20 M4 rifles fired in unison. The sound was lost in the vacuum of space, but the effect was immediate and dramatic. The bullets passed straight through the energy shield as if it wasn't there, punching holes in the ship's hull. Impossible. The Ravager transmission was filled with panic. "Our shields are at maximum power." "Again," Walker ordered. Another volley tore through the shield and into the ship's vital systems. Atmosphere vented from the holes, and internal explosions began to light up the hull. Admiral Rex's voice crackled with excitement. "By the stars, it's working. Their shields, they don't stop physical projectiles at all." The Ravager ship began to list, secondary explosions cascading through its hull. The Marines moved methodically, targeting key systems they could see through the torn hull plating. "All Council ships," Ambassador Light's voice rang out. "Protect the human teams. Get them close to the other Ravager vessels." The battle shifted dramatically. Council ships began running interference, drawing Ravager fire while shuttles full of Marines approached their targets. Ship after ship fell to the simple but devastating effect of bullet impacts. "Their shields," Walker explained over the comms as his team disabled their third ship, "were designed to stop energy weapons. They never considered something as primitive as kinetic projectiles." The Ravager fleet began to retreat, their supposedly invincible ships now vulnerable to the simplest of human weapons. Their commander made one final transmission before jumping away. "What kind of demons are you?" "We're not demons," Walker replied, even though the Ravagers couldn't hear him anymore. "We're humans, and we never forgot that sometimes the old ways work best." As the last Ravager ship disappeared into faster-than-light speed, Admiral Rex opened a channel to all ships. "I believe," he said slowly, "that the Council owes humanity an apology, and perhaps a few lessons in military strategy." Walker looked back toward Earth, now safe from the Ravager threat. Sometimes being underestimated was the greatest advantage of all. 1 week after the battle near Jupiter, Captain Walker found himself in an unusual position. He stood before the full Galactic Council, surrounded by representatives from hundreds of alien species. The grand chamber on the Council's capital world stretched farther than his eyes could see. "Explain it again," one of the Council members asked, leaning forward in their floating chair. "How did such simple weapons defeat our most advanced enemies?" Walker glanced at General Thompson, who nodded encouragingly. Behind them, Admiral Rex and Ambassador Light watched with newfound respect. "It's basic physics," Walker said, holding up a standard rifle round. The simple brass and lead object drew more attention than any advanced technology in the room. "Your energy shields are designed to stop energy weapons. They create fields that disperse plasma, laser beams, and other energy-based attacks." He placed the bullet on the floating platform in front of him. The Council's holographic systems magnified it so everyone could see. "But a bullet? It's just a piece of metal, moving very fast. There's no energy field to disperse, no plasma to deflect. It's pure kinetic energy, mass times velocity squared." The Council chamber erupted in discussion, thousands of advanced beings, trying to understand how they had overlooked something so simple. "We became so focused on advancing our technology," Admiral Rex admitted, stepping forward, "that we forgot the basic principles we built it on." The Ravagers did the same. Their shields could stop a planet-destroying energy beam, but they couldn't stop a simple piece of metal moving at high speed. A Council scientist floated forward on their gravity platform. "We've analyzed the combat footage. The human weapons were striking with such basic physical force that the shields didn't even register them as attacks. To the shield systems, they might as well have been space debris. Walker picked up the bullet again. On Earth, we kept these weapons not because we couldn't develop energy weapons, but because they work. They're reliable, simple, and sometimes simple is better. Ambassador Light activated a holographic display showing the battle. Notice how the Ravager shields actually light up brighter when hit by our energy weapons. They're designed to absorb and redirect energy. But physical projectiles. The display showed bullets passing straight through the shields. They had no defense against that. There's an old human saying, General Thompson added, "Keep it simple, stupid." We call it the KISS principle. Sometimes the most straightforward solution is the best one. The council's chief administrator rose from their seat. The chamber fell silent. Humanity, they announced, their voice echoing through the vast space, has taught us a valuable lesson. In our race for advancement, we forgot our foundations. Your primitive weapons, as we foolishly called them, saved not only Earth but potentially the entire council. Walker watched as the alien leaders nodded in agreement. The same beings who had laughed at human weapons just weeks ago were now studying them with intense interest. Therefore, the chief administrator continued, "We are immediately authorizing a joint weapons development program. Humanity will help us remember the simple solutions we have forgotten, and we will help humanity reach the stars. Together, we will be stronger." As the chamber filled with sounds of approval, Admiral Rex turned to Walker. "You know what this means, Captain. Your museum pieces are about to become the galaxy's most studied weapons." Walker smiled. "Just wait until we show you our other primitive solutions. Ever heard of a bayonet?" The Admiral's confused expression made Walker laugh. Sometimes the best way forward was to take a step back and remember what worked in the first place. Humanity might be new to the galaxy, but they had brought with them centuries of battle-tested wisdom. And this was just the beginning. 6 months after the Ravager battle, Captain Walker walked through the newly established Joint Military Academy on Mars. The massive dome complex housed thousands of students from both Earth and various council worlds. Through the reinforced windows, he could see the red Martian landscape stretching to the horizon, dotted with construction sites for future expansion. "Captain Walker." Admiral Rex called out, hurrying to catch up. The alien officer now wore a modified uniform that combined council designs with human military traditions. "Your new class starts in 10 minutes. Walker nodded, adjusting the instructor's badge on his chest. After the battle, he'd been promoted to lead the Basic Combat Principles Department at the Academy. Today's lesson was particularly special. "I still can't believe I'm teaching council warriors how to use human weapons," Walker said as they walked together. "Believe it," Admiral Rex replied with a laugh. "There's a 2-year waiting list for your courses. Even the Galactic Council's elite guard has requested training." They entered the Academy's main firing range. 50 alien officers from various species stood at attention, each holding a carefully modified Earth rifle adjusted for their unique physiologies. Behind them, the walls displayed holograms showing the physics of ballistic weapons. "Welcome to Advanced Projectile Weapons Training," Walker announced to the class. "Today, we're going to learn why sometimes the simplest solution is the most effective one." On the other side of the complex, Ambassador Light was giving General Thompson a tour of the new hybrid weapons development facility. Teams of human and alien scientists work together, combining Earth's practical experience with the Council's advanced technology. "Look at this," the ambassador said proudly, pointing to a testing chamber. Inside, a prototype weapon fired what looked like standard bullets, but each round was surrounded by a focused energy field. Kinetic impact combined with energy delivery. General Thompson nodded approvingly. "The best of both worlds." "And these are just the beginning," Ambassador Light added. "Your engineers had thousands of old ideas that we never considered. Did you know we're even experimenting with something called a sword for close combat? The concept of a monomolecular blade is fascinating. In orbit above Mars, newly designed warships conducted training exercises. Their hulls bore both Council and Earth military insignia, and their weapons systems combined energy beams with large-caliber railguns. The ship's crews were mixed, humans and aliens working side by side. Back at the firing range, Walker watched as his alien students practiced with their rifles. Some had 4 arms, others used tentacles, but they all showed the same focus and dedication. "Remember," he called out, "technology doesn't always mean progress. Sometimes it means finding what works and sticking with it." Admiral Rex stepped closer to Walker, speaking quietly. "The Ravagers have been spotted in the Carina Arm. Intelligence suggests they're developing new types of shields." Walker smiled. "Let them try. Every shield they make will still have to deal with basic physics. And now," he gestured to the mixed class of human and alien warriors, "now we're ready for them." The Admiral nodded in agreement. "You know, we used to think Earth was primitive. Now we understand. You weren't behind us. You were just more practical. You kept what worked." "Speaking of which," Walker said, checking the time, "I believe you have a personal training session scheduled. Ready to try that new sniper rifle?" "Absolutely." Rex grinned, revealing teeth that somehow looked more human than before. "Though I still don't understand why you call it old school." As they walked to the advanced training area, Walker looked out at Mars again. Human buildings stood next to alien architecture, Earth vehicles drove alongside Council hovercrafts, and the sky was filled with ships of both worlds. The galaxy had laughed at human weapons, but now they were learning from them. Sometimes the best way forward was to remember what worked in the past. And humanity. They were just getting started.